the United States to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for getting that working well for us. Good deal. Okay. We have roll call, please. And I must make a note that we have 3 council members, Councilor Vigil, Councilor Daniel, and Councilor Carson attending by Zoom. Ms. Suzanne?
All councilors are present and the quorum has been declared.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have the agenda approval. Councilor Griego?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. And for those on Zoom, you could unmute yourself and state your vote.
Yes, this is Christina Daniel.
Vigil, yes.
Carson, yes.
Okay, Ms. Susanna,
The motion carried unanimously.
thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is citizen comments. This is the portion of the agenda where we have, if anyone turn in a comment card, you get an opportunity to come up to the podium and make your comments. We do ask that you keep your comments to a 3-minute limit. If you're still talking at the 3-minute mark, I will politely ask you to end the conversation and comments at that particular time. I don't have any comment cards here. So I'm going to go to Zoom and see if we have any participants there who would like to make a comment. Ms. Susanna, could you give them instructions of how to raise their hands? There's no one on Zoom. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and close this segment. And we always like to recognize elected officials when they come in our presence. And we have our county commissioner, Ms. Laura Lasky, out here in the audience. Thank you so very much for participating tonight. Good to see you. All right. Okay, that's going to bring us down to consent calendar A. Councilor Griego,
I'll make a motion that we approve consent calendar A.
I second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please start voting.
Vigil, yes.
Daniel, yes.
Carson, yes.
Ms. Susanna?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. All right, up next on the agenda, we have business brought forward by city staff, finance, second quarter 2022 investment report.
You turned it off.
I turned it off. You
There
guys
you
already prepared me and I do the opposite. Red means off to me, green means go. So, hi, counselors and mayor, it's good to see you. Good to have the people on Zoom. We just wanted to give you a little heads up about a reporting change that we did in finance. You always get a monthly packet from us, which includes your monthly expenditures and then your monthly financial reports. On a quarterly basis, we're going to start doing an investment report for you. And if you hadn't noticed it in your packet, it's there. It's just a real simple 2-page thing. The first page is just a narrative of how our investments are doing. And then the second page is the actual numbers that list out all of our cash and investments. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that it was in there and that you have, if you hadn't had a chance to look at it, we can look at it real quick for a second. And then if you have any questions, we'll do that. After this, it will just be in your regular consent calendar A for regular approval. But of course, if you have any questions, bring them up at any time. So I'm just gonna go through this real quick. There's been a lot of talk about interest rates and interest rates hikes and all kinds of stuff in the last few months with the inflation going on in the economy and the Feds starting to inch up our rates. They had kept them flat at almost zero for several years. So there was really nothing to report on because we weren't making any interest. So as a base, last year, we made about $24,000 in interest for the entire year. And we've already made in one of our accounts over 50,000 this year. And we're just partway through, which sounds really, really good until you start talking about the other part of our investments, which are the bonds. So if anybody has a 401k, they might understand exactly what this is looking like, because if you've been seeing your regular investment statements, it's the same as it is for this city here, that bonds tend to go as inflation, as interest rates go up, bonds will go down. And we have a couple of bonds in there that have lost a ton of money this year. So just wanted to point that out, but I would say don't get too upset or worried about that. We're not selling those bonds. We have to mark them down to the market rate per accounting rules as if we were going to sell them today. We are not going to sell them. We're going to keep them and we should be okay in the end as we hold them. So they've got a couple more years to mature before we have to do anything with them. And the bonds are the lowest they've been in over 40 years. Nobody expects them to stay down. They're going to start creeping back up and we should be all right with that. So we'll just keep monitoring those. So I just wanted to point those out. And I would say on the second page that we have in there, this is the list that you have of everything. And you can see that we have most of our money over in Colo Trust. If you look over to the 1, 2, 3, 4th column over, you can see that in the regular Colo Trust account, we have 12.2 million. And then they have an edge account that we put 5 million in to kind of hedge our bets with them just a little bit too. And so most of our money's there. You can see that we've made at the end of June, we had made 38,000 there. That's up to over 50,000 as of the July statement. But what's killing us, if you go down halfway through, you see the Invesco and the Peaks investments. That's what I'm talking. Those are our 2 bonds. And we only have 800,000 and 480,000, but we've lost a ton of money. So if you go down to the very, very bottom line of that, you can see, go up a little bit on that thing. Now put it's going to be in the parentheses there. It says 10,597. That's our net loss between our interest that we've actually received and then the losses if we had actually sold those bonds, which we haven't, but that's where we're at today, year to date. Hopefully interest will keep going up and those bonds should steady out. So you can be looking to see what happens in the September financials. So hopefully that'll go up a bit. But that's all I really have to say unless you have some questions about that.
Okay, thank you for that report. Councilor Gray, go ahead and comment.
I had a question as far as, when you lock these in, you've been locking them in for what, a year, 6 months, 3 months, or
You
I was
know,
noticing some of the,
yeah, prior to my tenure here, they had been locked in for 1 year to 2 years, trying to get the best interest rate, which was dismal at the point in time. In the last year or so, I've been trying to drop everything as it matures down to like a 6-month maturity, which is the lowest you can really get like on CDs and things. Just because I know that there were talks of with the inflation, I knew the interest rates would be climbing and I didn't want to lock us in for any longer than that. But that's exactly why the bonds are down there, because they're locked in at like 1% and bonds are now trading at almost 3% or over 3% right now.
I see you got a bunch of them in 2023 and even
Yeah.
one in 2025.
Yes, and that's one thing with governments is we can't, the longest maturity that we can have is 5 years, and that is only in government-backed treasuries and agencies. Everything else has to be 3 years or less. And so you're not going to see any real long terms out there. Long terms tend to be a little bit riskier for governments, and we're not allowed to invest in anything like that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Let's see if we can get the screen up to where we could see our council members and see if any of them have their hands raised. Okay, I don't see any hands raised or any mics unmuted. All right, well, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. That. I don't think we have to vote on anything. Yep. Thank you, Councilor Grego. Okay, that brings us to committee reports. Anyone have any committee reports? I'll start with our Zoom participants first. Nod your head, no. Okay. All right, so we'll bring it back here. Counselor Hensley?
So I went to golf board. Basically, overall, everything's going really well. Most of their numbers are up. The one comment they made, and I think Andy, you may know this, is that there's a little concern of maybe trimming trees, that they've lost some trees. So they just said that's something they think long-term. But other than that, and it wasn't like a major complaint or something, but they just said the amount of trees they have out there. So other than that, though, they were super excited and continue to be super thankful of our partnership, or that the city has taken it over really. And that idea though, of that how things are thriving and doing really well.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. No other committee reports. That brings us to staff announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have 2 items. The first one is, it was covered in the newspaper, but I'll speak a little bit on it in case you didn't read it. We really had a great meeting with CDOT representatives last week, and there was kind of 2 groups. The lead regional engineer out of Durango and another engineer came out in the morning and spent some time with Rachel, Harry, and I. And we really took a look at not only the projects we've completed, but those that we could see as priorities from a community perspective, and what does that look like working together and timeframes and those types of things. We talked a lot about our desire to have an intersection, a lighted intersection at Pike Avenue from a safety perspective. They're also talking about that would be folded into maybe a bigger corridor study to take a look at that whole area, maybe taking a look at the speeds, those types of things. We also got on their radar the Boys and Girls Club at some point, if they move forward and get funding to build the early childhood center, may need to do a bus drop off that's off of 285, which obviously they'll need to review. As well as Friday Health is, needing some movement to move their construction forward and those types of things. And then we walked the downtown and looked at Hunt Street and the parking lots that we're going to be doing and where the flashing beacons are going to be and the lane diet and just about everything else you can think of. And so that was the morning. In the afternoon, we had that same group, but then we added the director and regional director. And that, since I've been here, is the first time since the director of CDOT has been here to have that kind of meeting with us. And so greatly appreciate her desire to connect with some of these rural communities and see how CDOT can be a partner, how things might work differently for us than from a metro area and those types of things. She had a lot of great information on potential federal grants and how we can work together on securing those. And we did the same little walk with her downtown. Matt Abbey happened to be there and she could hear directly from him how the city's downtown plan made a difference in either closing their business or moving downtown, and to see how everything's built on that solid foundation of a publicly driven plan. And so she was really excited to see all of that. So I just wanted to share that. It was a great meeting. And staff was able to shine and build a partnership there. The other item I was going to discuss is clearly we've been getting a lot of rain. And if anyone's been driving around, you'll know that maybe there's a few spots that our storm water's not working exactly how we want it. Just want to assure you staff is looking into them, looking at them. Some of them there's an upcoming project that might be fixing it. Others, it could potentially be a collapsed line that we weren't aware of, or in one instance, it was some debris that got into one of the pumps and not sure why the other one isn't working. So they're aware of it. They've been using a lot of crew hours to kind of pump and look into it. And so I just want to make sure you guys know that they are on top of it. And with that, I don't have any other updates unless you have questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brooks. Counselor Griego?
I had a question. Usually our downtown floods and we used to have to take out these sandbags. This year we didn't. Is it because we have that deal that helps us out there? Or?
I'll let Harry come up and answer that, but I think part of the answer is our inlets going into the river, and some of them we weren't aware were not fully open. And so as we've been working on some of the levee, I think that has maybe made a little bit of a difference. But Harry, I don't know if I'm going off track.
No, I think you're doing well. Part of it is the piece of equipment we were allowed to purchase last year We've been able to implement a storm, maintenance program. They focused on downtown, a lot of the south side Boulder storm lines. They're able to get in there and clean that. So we've seen a big impact from that just in the little time we've had the equipment. And as we continue to work across town, we'll see it improve.
I just got comments from people downtown that before we used to deploy all these sandbags and stuff and put them up there by their door. So they were happy to see that it's working pretty good. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Harry.
All right, thank you. That brings us down to the next item, under local liquor licensing. We have a consent calendar B. Councilor Grego,
I'll make a motion. We approve consent calendar B presented.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
V Hill, yes.
Daniel, yes.
Parson, yes.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. That brings us down to council comments. I'll recognize the council members who were here first. Would like to turn on your mic, Councilor Griego.
I just had a couple of things. I wanted to send out a condolence out to the mind went break. Marcia Tuggle, that passed away here last week, and she was one of our council people. And then one of our employees, Roy Sanchez Jr., his dad passed away, so we wanted to send condolences out to their families.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Councilor Cribb?
I just wanted to make a comment. I had the opportunity, starting out as a brand new counselor, to take advantage of 2 events that you held for the city, with the city staff barbecue as well as the city fair. And I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I just thought that was an amazing thing that we do to present to the public and to recognize the staff. So that was really, I like roller skating.
Okay,
So-
good deal, good deal.
So, but thank you for doing that and, doing those extra things for both the community and the staff. It's great.
Thank you, Council. Good job. Thank you, Councilor Cribb. Okay, I'll go to the Zoom participants. If you have any comments before I wrap things up. No? Okay, I have a few comments also. I'd like to send out condolences to Roy and his family. They're in our prayers. Want to thank Heather and Harry and Rachel and their team for their efforts with CDOT. I couldn't have been more prouder to hear the director say so many great things about our city and the direction we're heading and the support that they have for what we're doing. Just very impressive. So thank you all so much for your hard work and dedication. The City Services Fair and the National Night Out took place last night. Had a great turnout for those who showed up, which was great. It's good to show support for our staff as well as, the law enforcement officers as well out there, and all of the vendors who participated as well. We also had a wonderful time with the employee barbecue. The food was great. The snow cones were delicious. And I must say, our city manager beat me in roller skating. She did a real good job. But we had a good time. It's just so great to see staff come together and the community come together and council come together for a joyful time. So thank you all so very much for everything that you do. You all make a huge difference. Well, with that being said, no other comments. This meeting is officially adjourned.
Blame it on me.